Hey everyone! If you live in a colder growing zone, then fall is time to store your dahlias. But what you store them in is just as important as everything else you do to care for your dahlias. So if you're unsure what to use to store your dahlias, or maybe if you're just looking for some new ideas, I'm going to break down some of the various options and tell you what has worked for me consistently over the last decade of growing and storing dahlias. And if you want more info on caring for and storing your dahlias over winter, you can check out my complete guide at the link in the description. So let's get to it. All right, so when it comes to storing your dahlias, there are a few options for the type of medium or the type of material that you're going to use to store them. The key with the material is we want it to be something that can kind of surround the dahlia tubers and essentially isolate them, keep them tucked in over the winter. We don't want them exposed to kind of the open air or anything like that, because that will cause them to dry out. And if the tubers dry out completely, they're not going to be viable for next spring. We don't want to store them in damp conditions either, because that can lead to rot, and we don't want the tubers to rot over winter because, again, those won't be viable as well. So we're looking for something that goes right in the middle, not too dry and not too damp. So I've got a few materials on the table, and I'll talk about each one of them. So the first is newspaper, or this is newsprint, because I don't have a newspaper. And so you can wrap the dahlias in the newsprint, and you can shred the newspaper up so that you have a good environment that can kind of, so you have an environment where you can nestle the clumps of dahlias in and amongst the newspaper, or in this case, the newsprint. So the one in front of me here is vermiculite, and vermiculite is a really good material for doing this because it will completely surround the dahlias, and it will wick away. If there's too much moisture, it will help wick away the moisture, but it's not going to let so much air get to them that they're going to dry out. The other advantage of vermiculite is that it's very, very light. It's blowing away in the wind as we speak. So this can be a really good choice. One of the drawbacks about vermiculite can be the price. And depending on how many dahlias you're storing and how much vermiculite you need, the cost can add up pretty quickly, especially compared to some of the other options. Lastly, we have sand, and this is just plain old play sand from the hardware store. And sand is another good option because, just like the vermiculite, it's going to surround and protect the dahlia tubers. It's going to help wick away moisture, and again, it's going to insulate them from getting too dry. Say the one drawback with sand is that it is the opposite of the vermiculite. It is very heavy. And so again, if you have a lot of dahlias, a lot of large containers, and you're using a lot of sand, it's going to get really heavy really quick. A fourth option that I don't have here is wood shavings, which you can get as pet bedding from the pet store. And that can be another good option, again, to surround the dahlias. It's light in weight, similar to, say, the vermiculite. So that can also be another good option. My favorite is sand. I have been using sand to store my dahlias for more than a decade now, and I have the most amount of success with it. I don't ever have any trouble with the dahlias getting too dry or rotting over the winter. I have had issues with newsprint in the past. The vermiculite is a good option, like I said, but it can be more expensive. So I go with sand. Again, sand has the drawback of being very, very heavy, and so that's something to consider. But it works the best for me, having tried a bunch of the other options as well. So there we have it. How you store your dahlias matters, and I recommend that you find what works best for you. And if you already have a favorite material to use, keep using that. As I mentioned in a previous video, when it comes to storing dahlias in a container, I like to put the tuber clumps in layers and cover each layer with sand or whatever material that I'm using. And I know I said that sand is my favorite, and it is. It's never let me down, and it's reusable year after year. However, after filming this video, and as I was putting away the remaining dahlias, I ran out of sand. And since these storage containers that I'm using are getting really, really heavy, I decided to get vermiculite for my third and final container. I bought 8-quart bags, and I used just over 2 bags, or 16 quarts, to fill the last container. Overall, I am happy with the process, and I feel good knowing that my dahlias are all tucked away for the winter. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you want a more complete guide to winter dahlia storage, check out the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy gardening.